Audio. When two people stop contacting each other, it's not about who has more self-control. It's about who loses emotional grip first. And ironically, the one who seems most relaxed at the start is often the less to realize what's happening. Audio. At first it may feel normal. You try to appear calm. Audio. As if everything is fine. But slowly, something starts shifting. Audio. You check your phone more often, hoping for one notification. Even though you know there probably won't be any. Audio. Every little sound triggers a reflex. But what appears is just ideas or messages you are not waiting for. And then your mind starts wandering. You open old chats. Audio. Reread them. Trying to pinpoint where everything began to change. Were you too charming or just too distant? And the more you think, the more you sing. Because what hurts most in this situation isn't the loss. Audio. It's uncertainty. Is this really over or just a pause? Does he need time or does he simply not care anymore? And at that point you're no longer fetching. Audio. Him. You're fetching your own thoughts. Take it easy. You are not alone. Almost. Audio. Everyone has been in this phase. The phase where silence feels heavier than conflict. But few realize that silence, audio, isn't random. Silence is a phase that quietly changes everything. And when you and him both, audio, stop reaching out, many things are actually happening beneath the audio surface. Often both of you don't even realize it. In this video, you do understand what's truly going on inside you. Audio. What may be happening inside him, and why over time your feelings can shift, audio, or even reverse. So make sure you watch until the end because the final part could completely change how you see this situation. Before continuing, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like this video so you don't miss content like this. Audio. Now let's get into the most dangerous part first. Why in early silence your own mind becomes your greatest enemy? Audio. Point 1. When silence begins, your mind becomes your worst enemy. Audio. At the start of the silence phase, the loudest thing isn't the situation itself, it's your own thoughts. Not because something major happened, but because there is no certainty at all. Audio. And that thought gets filled immediately by your mind. You start replying all chats, rereading every word as if there is a hidden clue you missed. He changed right here. Did he? Or was it the one who seemed to needy? Maybe he was wrong back then. Without realizing, you begin auditing yourself, always ending with one conclusion. It was, audio, wrong. Your behavior changes too. You check less say not once but repeatedly. Not because anything changed, but because you hope something will change. Every notification makes your body react instantly. Not because it's important, but because you hope it's him. That's not a coincidence. Your brain is releasing dopamine, the chemical that gets you addicted to hope. And when that hope isn't fulfilled, your body also releases cortisol, making you even more anxious. So what you're feeling isn't just emotional, it's also biological. And when it's not him who appears, audio, it feels like being pulled back down again. It repeats. At this point, what's happening isn't a real loss, but magnified, audio, uncertainty. Your mind fills the gaps with the worst possibilities. And that's what, audio, trap lies. You're not tortured by what's happening, but by what you, audio, imagine is happening. As Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who lived as a former slave and is known for his teachings on inner peace, said, humans, audio, are not disturbed by events, but by the few they take of them. The more you search for answers inside your head, the deeper you sink. And here is, audio, the key. What you are feeling right now may not reflect reality at all. Because in silence, the mind creates, audio, stories faster than it finds truth. Point 2. You're both experiencing the same thing, just on different timings. Now the issue is no longer what you feel, but when you feel it. Audio. Because in this silent phase, you are actually going through the same process. Just not at the same time. At first you are hit harder and earlier. Emotions kick in immediately. Dogs race. Everything feels heavy quickly. While on his side, audio, not necessarily. Not because he is stronger, and not because he doesn't care, but because the way he processes, audio, is different. Some people feel lost right away. Others only realize after everything has truly drifted away. That's why a confusing pattern often emerges. You're overthinking while he seems fine. You're busy searching for meaning while he is still living his days as usual. And this is where many people sleep. You see him relaxed. Then you conclude he doesn't, audio, care. But maybe he just hasn't reached the phase you're in right now. Audio. This isn't about who loves more. It's about different emotional timing. If you don't understand this, you do keep reading the situation, audio, only from your own perspective. And that will torture you further because you do feel left behind. When in fact he may not even realize he is losing anything yet. Audio. And this is where everything begins to shift. Because after this, the difference in timing will start to show its effects. Pantry. When you are hurting, he actually seems, audio, fine. In this phase, the contrast isn't just felt, audio, it's clearly visible. You're at your heaviest, mindful, emotions, audio, swinging, small things trigger you. Time feels slow because your head never truly rests. Meanwhile on his side, he looks normal. He still goes out, still meets friends, still posts on social media, as if everything is, audio, fine. And at his point your mind jumps to the quickest conclusion. That means he has already moved, audio, on. That means he was never that serious. But not necessarily. What you're seeing often isn't, audio, that he has done, but that he is avoiding. This is rarely discussed. Escape, audio, behavior. Instead of sitting with emptiness, he chooses to fill his days with distractions. Hanging out more, scrolling longer, logging louder than usual. In fact, some psychology studies show that, audio, people who avoid emotions through distraction actually experience an emotional rebound where postponed feelings, audio, return even stronger later on. So this isn't an assumption. It's a real pattern. Not because he is stronger, but because he is delaying. Delaying the moment when he has to be still, audio, and finally face his own feelings. And heres as likely there inside. So many can look totally fine precisely when they are furthest from themselves. Because as long as it's noisy, as long as there, audio, busy, as long as distractions exist, they haven't been forced to be honest. But one thing is certain. Postponed emotions don't disappear. They just pile up. And the longer they delay it, the deeper they do feel later. That's why early on he seems relaxed. But that's not the end of the story. It's just a pause before everything turns around. And usually by the time he starts feeling that loss, audio, it's no longer the same timing. Because when that happens, you may no longer be in the same place. And that's when everything begins to change. Because after this, the positions will slowly reverse. Punt. Audio. 4. Silence that lasts too long will change how you both feel. Time keeps moving. And change doesn't arrive with noise. It comes slowly until one day you realize everything is different. On your side, what once felt heavy is now starting to loosen. Not because you've truly forgotten, but because your body and mind are adapting to absence. You used to wake up and the first thing you checked, audio, was him. Now there are mornings you wake up and you forget. Every notification used to make you happy. Now upping comes. You glance briefly, then move on. Not because you've become immune, but because you no longer anchor your sense of safety there. There are even small moments you never imagined before. Like you're eating and suddenly realize that usually around, audio. This time he would often tell you something. Or you open your gallery and without meaning to, you see that most of your past moments, audio, always had him in them. And now that's just a memory. Audio. And while you slowly step out of that habit, on his side he is just beginning to step into it. Audio. At first it's small. Walking down the street, seeing something you would usually share with him. His finger instinctively opens the chat but stops halfway. Emptiness. Lounging with friends, but in one strange second it suddenly goes quiet. Because there is one person who was always the place for stories, and now they're gone. Or at night when everything goes still and there is no distraction left to block the thoughts. That's when it starts to be felt. Not a huge longing, but a small hole that grows more noticeable over time. And here is what often goes unnoticed. Loss rarely arrives as one big explosion. It comes as small moments that keep repeating. And from that, the feeling piles up. Emptiness, doubt, audio, and eventually loss. At this point he starts thinking, audio. What should I have done differently yesterday? Was what I let go actually important or not? Audio. And ironically, just as he starts questioning all of that, you've already begun asking nothing at all. Because without realizing it, you've moved. Calmer, more stable, no longer dependent. Not because you've changed drastically, audio, but because you've started accepting. In Stoicism, this is called amor fati, loving what happens, not fighting it. And at this point, without realizing, you and he are no longer on the same level. Point 5. When you stop chasing, the dynamic reverses. At this stage, the most important change actually isn't in him, it's in you. Audio. You start not waiting anymore. No longer depending on a single name on your phone screen. Your days begin moving forward without always needing him in them. And without no teaching, your energy shifts from needing, audio, to being enough. You're no longer chasing, no longer trying to hold something together alone. And this is precisely when the dynamic starts to flip. Because when you stop pursuing, audio, the person who was previously relaxed begins to feel that change. He grows curious. Audio. Why does she seem different now? She's not like before. And that curiosity slowly turns into attention. He starts noticing you again, seeing you from, audio, a different angle. But in this phase, there is one major danger. Often, audio, he will begin reappearing. Not directly serious, but slowly testing your, audio, response. A light chat, or just a small reaction to see if you're still there or not. And this is where many people fall back into old patterns. The moment they receive a little attention, they instantly revert, audio, to how they were. Quick replies, too much enthusiasm, as if nothing ever changed. Yet, audio, without realizing, that resets everything to square one. Because the attention that comes to easily loses its value. Not because you are lacking, but because no effort is required to get it. And if you are not aware at this point, you do repeat the same cycle again. Because this is where the real test begins. Audio. Point 6. When he returns, you are tested between neediness or self-control. And finally, audio. That moment arrives. Suddenly he appears again. Might through a simple message. Hey. Or just a reaction to your story. Small attention. Audio. But enough to make your heart react again. Sing. Your mind instantly activates. Audio. Hope that had faded suddenly resurfaces. Back. Audio. He still remembers me. But this is the most dangerous point because many people misunderstand instantly. They mistake returning for changing. Whereas in reality, audio, that's not necessarily true. Returning isn't the same as realizing. Returning isn't the same as being serious. It could just be momentary longing. It could just be curiosity. It could just be that he wants to confirm you're still there. And if you immediately open access like audio, before, without realizing, you are repeating the same pattern. That's why at this point you need a new standard. Don't look at words. Don't look at a single message. Look at consistency. Look at actions. Because someone who has truly changed doesn't come halfway. Now the positions are different. You used to be the one hoping to be accepted. Now you are the one who chooses. And this, above all, it's not about whether he comes back or not, but about who holds the control. In Stoicism this is called the dichotomy of control. Audio. Where you learn to distinguish between what clear stroat. You can control and what you cannot. You cannot control whether he will return. You cannot control his feelings, audio, but you can always control how you respond, and that determines, audio, everything. The principle is simple, but rarely practiced. Better to control, audio, yourself than to try controlling others. Because once you can manage your responses, you are no longer dependent, and at, audio, this point you begin to be truly free. The purpose of silence is not to, audio, make him return, but to make you realize you don't need him, audio, to feel complete. You are whole with or without him. And once you reach that point, you no longer react from emotion. You choose consciously, audio, calmly, fully in control, unshaken. This is the highest level achieved. Conclusion. Audio. In the end, the most honest moment in any relationship appears when everything is silent. Not when you are messaging each other. Not when everything feels warm, but when there is nothing and you still have to face yourself. That's when you see who is truly strong and who is just used to company. Because when all distractions disappear, what remains, audio, is just one question. Are you still whole without him? If the answer is yes, then you've already won. Not winning because he came back. Not because you were contacted again, but because you no longer attach your self-worth to anyone else. And that's a level few people ever reach. So if today you're in that silent phase, don't fake it. Sit there for a moment. Audio, feel it. Go through it. Because right there, you are being shaped. Not to become shoulder, but to become more aware. And when you reach the point where someone's presence, audio, clear throat, is no longer a need but a choice, that's when you truly have control. Audio, end of everything that happens. That is the most valuable. If this resonates with you, audio, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this with someone who might also be in this phase. See you in the next video.